Hello everybody and welcome along to our live coverage from the Porsche Endurance Cup. Good to have you, the Michelin 992 Endurance Cup here at Spa-Francorchamps. It's a typical Belgian afternoon and it's been a little bit foggy this morning. We've had a bit of dampness. There's a little bit of rain in the air. John Hindhaugh and Nick Damon in the booth for you for qualifying. Good evening, Nick. What a fabulous event this is. We're going to have over 300 Porsches here tomorrow from the Porsche Experience, from the local Porsche clubs, and probably a few more. You've brought a Porsche down as well. Bizarrely, I haven't.
Nah, you see. No one would have got that on their bingo card, would they? Nick with a Porsche, John without one.
Yes.
Yeah, so a fantastic Cayenne hybrid. Thank you very much to Porsche GB. I very much enjoyed my first proper hybrid experience. A little bit more convinced by the whole hybrid thing than I was before, but don't tell anyone else that because I've been rallying against it for the last 15 years.
Yes, indeed.
But yeah, I mean, this is a fabulous event. It is Creventic and it is Porsche. And it's a kind of a combination of two of the finest European race organisers, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the 12-hour race. I'm really looking forward to seeing this qualifying session as we because of the gloomy weather that we have now got a dry track and we aren't expecting any more rain. It's almost going to be like a night session towards the end, John.
Yeah, and we do have a situation where later on we will have a night session, and at least one of the drivers has to qualify in the night session as we have some darkness running tomorrow. Nick and I in the booth for this one, down in the pit lane, rocking a new look. Let's head down to Joe Bradley and Diana Binks.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Spa-Francorchamps, one of the most iconic circuits on the globe. And we're here for the 992 Endurance Cup, of course. We're about to go ahead with a qualifying session now. All of you viewers and listeners that are familiar with the 24 Series Creventic format of qualifying, it's pretty much the same. 3 15-minute segments, a different driver in each segment. However, little bit of difference with this one, Di, for the 992 Endurance Cup.
It is, as you said, the 3 qualifying sessions, 15 minutes each, 7 minutes break in between. The bronze driver has to go out for the first session, and each session they have to take on brand new set of tyres. So slightly different strategy to play with there right at the very beginning. But we're down here in the pit lane, Joe, and I think Nick mentioned a minute ago that it was dry, but I can tell you guys the rain has started. The spits of rain are coming down here in the pit lane just before everyone gets underway to go out.
So a maximised run on Michelin tyres here at Spa, maximised insofar as a brand new set allowed for every driver. However, no refuelling allowed during qualifying, so the car will go out heavy. The bronze driver will have the heaviest car on the new tyre. What that tyre is going to be, I don't know. It's already quite, well, it's miserly, isn't it? But it's going to wet the track, and that's going to cause problems straight off.
Well, it's going to be one of those situations, isn't it? It's not wet, it's not raining properly, it's just spitting. And we know with this circuit, it can be dry at the back, but not here. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, certainly in this first qualifying piece.
We'll try and keep our eyes on what cars go out on what tyres. But from my experience here at Spa, it'll be a very brave driver who goes out on slick rubber. I think it's going to be wet skies.
And that changes the regulations as far as the tyres, because you can use as many wet tyres as you want, and that means a driver could come in and change the tyres within the sessions. The other regulation that you need to be aware of is that if there are only 2 drivers in a team, then the first and second sessions have to be completed by separate drivers, and any team with amateurs in has to have the amateur out first. That's part of the regulations, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a reworking of the 3-part qualifying we've seen for the last couple of years in Creventic races, but you know, because everyone gets a fresh set of tyres, it makes it a little bit more easy to manage. But of course, they are sending the amateur drivers out first. Main reason for that, I think, John, is to have all the theoretically slowest drivers out in the first session, so you don't have potential of traffic or tripping over each other with the faster guys going after that. That's why they've really moved on. And I'm pretty sure that, as I say, we're having this kind of ongoing argument between myself and the pit lane people about the rain. I'm watching tyres going on the cars. It's slicks. Everyone's putting slicks on the cars.
Yeah.
The track. We've just had a Porsche Benelux sprint. Porsche race, and they were all on dries. So I think it's water in the air, but I don't think it's water in the track, or certainly not enough to engender a change away from the slicks, which we can get a bit of heat in them. We'll be absolutely fine with this level of mizzle, especially as we're not expecting rain. But this is Spa, so me saying not expecting rain almost guarantees a downpour.
We're a little bit late getting things underway because the Benelux Porsche race went a little bit long. What we should do to bring everybody up to speed, Nick, is just to give everybody an idea of how this came about and why we're here and who's involved in it as well. Creventic in the 24H series were the first people to have a specific class for the new 992 Cup cars, which is 4 years, believe it or not, it's 4 years old now. And it was the 992 Cup car is the Super Cup and the Carrera Cup car around the world. Its full title is GT3 Cup car. Now everything with Porsche is GT3, and that stems from the GT3 road cars. I don't have one of those, sadly. I couldn't get on the list. So there was a lot of things about the 8th generation, and we have got cars on track now on the circuit that are back in there that are very, very different in the design of these cars from the predecessors, which was a venerable 991.2. The engine is the same. It's 4 litre, it's normally aspirated, it's a flat 6. It's a fantastic engine. It is actually pretty much in the same state of tune as the road car. There is a slightly more powerful one that goes into the GT3 RS on the road, but that's not what we've got here. We've got 507 PS, which is just on about 500 of our British brake horsepower. That hasn't changed, but everything else of the car has to go along with the new model shape. Now, the 8th generation of the road car is the first of the road cars, and therefore this race car is the first of the race cars, of the Cup cars, to have the turbo wide body. Everybody has the wide body, and this is the turbo wide body because it's got the slots in the back fenders, in the back wings. On the road car, that means for the first time you get staggered wheel sizes and wheel widths. So 20s and 21s on the road cars. As the cars run 18-inch wheels and racing tyres. The cars look fabulous, and they are very obviously 992s. All of these cars are exactly the same machines. If you're a Porsche aficionado, you will recognise them by the lighting strip all the way down the back of the car underneath the ducktail. Also new for this generation of car was the swan neck on the back. Right, we'll have about 5 or 6 minutes before we get any meaningful times. Remember, this is a 3-stage qualifying one. Let's go to Joe Bradley in the pit lane.
It's great to tell you this, guys. We've got a lot of new drivers that we are meeting for the first time this weekend in the 992 Cup, Endurance Cup, I should say. Therese Lalou, I've just met for the first time. She's down to drive the number 90. That's the MRS car. Therese, is this your first time at Spa?
This is my first time in Spa. This is my first time racing in Europe, actually. So we're really, really excited to be out here.
Where have you raced before, then?
I race in the Sprint Challenge North America series, so I've done a lot of legendary tracks like Sebring and Watkins Glen, but first time at one of the big European boys.
You've added a good one to that list, haven't you?
I think Eau Rouge was maybe a bit, a bit of a jump, but we really enjoyed it, especially in the wet.
Yeah, we're about to go into Eau Rouge in the dampness, aren't we? We're looking at the sky right now before qualifying. What's your thoughts?
I'm hoping it'll stay drizzly and open up on us at night practice. I want to do Eau Rouge in the wet at night and just really get the full experience.
Is that a tick a box kind of thing?
I was really hoping to do Eau Rouge for the first time in the dry, but that was just not how it panned out, so I did it in the soaking wet on rain tires this morning, so let's do it at night.
Yeah, and the forecast for the race is actually to be beautiful and sunny and hot, and so you are going to see Eau Rouge in the dry. You looking forward to that?
Yeah, we might get one of the 30 sunny days here in Spa that I've heard so much about, so really hoping for some good conditions, but honestly, we're here for whatever the weather wants to bring us. I'm here for the whole experience.
Yeah, being from the United States, you get a lot of weather over there. What's your thoughts about this qualifying session then, and considering the track conditions are going to be a bit tricky?
I think Spa is so unique because it's so variable as you go across the course. Every single corner has a different climate. There's microclimates happening all over the track. There's dry areas. It's raining in one area. It's sunny in another. So really keeps you on your toes, pushes you as a driver, and that's really what we're here for, is for that development, that experience to, really maximize the experience that we get here.
Yeah. So is endurance racing and sharing a car, is that a new experience for you this weekend?
I have done the Western Endurance Championship, so I used to race Miatas, and I've done a lot of endurance racing in Miatas. We're also competing in the Porsche Endurance Challenge in North America. We got second place at Road America. We were leading COTA. We had a little drive time penalty incident that we won't talk about. But no, I love endurance racing. I'm not really as into the sprint racing. Honestly, I've been looking forward to this endurance racing all year because I love the camaraderie. I love the teamwork. And it's also just a great way to give back to all these mechanics who work so hard fielding us all year. Just really hoping to bring home some hardware for these kids.
Big team effort. We love that too. When are you in the car, first, second or third?
I will be third. So I'll be rounding it out, and then I will be in the middle stint tomorrow.
Okay, well, we wish you very well. Rather you than me in those track conditions. But I'm, that's why you're the racing driver and I'm the commentator.
Maybe we've got a right seat for you. If
Yeah, maybe. Thanks, Therese. Great to meet you as well.
So nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you.
Thank
It's
you.
good
Thank
to
you.
see that this event is
Great stuff.
bringing drivers from various Porsche championships around the world. The Porsche Sprint Challenge in the States. We've got the Porsche Sprint Challenge here this weekend. That is for current spec 992s. Also, there's a 991 class there, and there's a GT4 class there in the States. I'm sad to say we've got a red flag already at partway down the Kemmel Straight, and this was for a problem.
His bonnet's up before he started.
It's the.
He's had a off. It's the
911, isn't it?
I think he is. Yeah, he's had an off, and
which is the Alpha motorhome car,
and that's taken the front of the car out. And I think he was trying to trundle it back, but then the bonnet went up effectively in the wind. And well, it's not the first person to have a problem up there, unfortunately, John. We've actually lost a car from the entry list today. The
QMMF by HRT?
No, it's the Bas Kouten racing car.
Right.
They had a big accident this morning. It was Bart van Helden who went off in through turn 4, turn 5 at the top of the hill. Huge amount of damage to the car. They have shortened the length of that car by about a foot. Bart went to hospital, but I think he's been released. He is okay, but the car is unrepairable. They don't have a spare, so they're already packing up. So Bas Kouten, the 25 car, not taking out. So prior to this slight issue we've seen from the 911, which had Kevin Wraith in the car at the time, we are looking at 28 starters, but as you've quite rightly said, the QMF by HRT still has a little bit of a question mark about it.
QMMF, QMMF by HRT is the Kuwait Motorsport Federation. We've seen them in
Motor and Motorcycle Federation. Do they have motorcycle in the title? Yeah, they've done a lot of stuff obviously with the Kuwait 24 Hours in the previous 2 years. They've also run in the other Middle Eastern countries. Part of a big entry by HRT. I think there's 3 cars in the HRT pit lane. So they are hopefully going to get out in this second part. We are currently, all cars are now back in the pit lane for this red flag. Clock stopped for the red flag, so we still have 12 minutes and 9 seconds. And as we were speaking just a second ago about the problems for Bas Kouten racing 25, Diana has the man himself.
I do indeed, and unfortunately Bas was just about to sit down and have his dinner, but he very kindly decided to leave it, park it and come and chat to me. Bas, really disappointed to see you had that incident in the practice session, which means you won't take part in the race. Disappointing for you and for the driver. Is the driver okay?
driver's quite okay. It's Marcel van Berlo. He had a broken rib, only one. Luckily, he came back here after a couple of hours being in hospital, being searched, and he's quite okay. Having pain, especially in his body because of he can't race anymore this weekend. The car is too much damaged, and with a broken rib, it's not easy as well.
What happened? Did you talk to him about it? Did you find out what happened?
Yeah, of course, we investigated what happened, and he also mentioned later on that he made a little mistake himself. He felt the car sliding, and he didn't counter steer up on a radial, and that's why he crashed in the left side of the barrier with the right side of the car, so the car spun off.
Really disappointing, and I'm sure he's incredibly disappointed. And at the moment we're under red flag conditions here. This qualifying evening's just begun, and that's, you will know as team principal and team manager, how difficult that is.
We have to be here. We had to be here. Let's say that everything was well prepared. We know the grey area in the regulations, so we knew where we could gain something in this race. So we were quite convinced about some good results. This is disappointing, but yeah, let's stop talking about that. Let's go on for the next one. We'll hope everyone else will have a very good race. And yeah, red flags, wet, dry tracks, it's challenging. I hope everyone else stays on track.
Thank you very much, Bas. You get back to enjoying your dinner. Thanks for chatting.
Thank you very much to Diana and Bas Kooten, always a gentleman. We have had the 911, the number 911 has been taken away from the scene of the accident, and we are back to green, and with 11.5 minutes to go, it's much darker, by the way, than our cameras show. The very expensive cameras, thanks to our hard-working TV crew, 0221. We are seeing far more of what is out there than we can see out of the window. Now, in fairness, we have got slightly tinted glass in the Global Broadcast Centre here. At RSL Studio, by the way, if you want to get in touch with us, the responsible adult will be watching that and passing on information to us. Nick and Joe, Di and myself splitting the work up across the weekend. Also, a big thanks to all of our volunteer marshals. This is a long track, just over 4 miles, 7 kilometres, and therefore we have a full complement this weekend. Just got to talk about some of the teams, Nick, that we've got here. Yeah, because we've got some absolute crackers here at the moment. Milner Motorsport, Black Falcon, Mass Chrysler Racing, Red Camel, Team GP Elite, and I'm just by the way, I'm just reading down as they come down. Our QMMF have now been out with Ibrahim Al Abdul Ghani, so they've been out. Toro Racing by HRT, K Kramer Racing, Black Falcon in here, Neuhofer Racing, Speed Lover, MRS GT with 3, Seb Lajou Racing by Duo, and many more, including Manthey. Manthey are here as well with the PTE squad. These are the best of the best of the best of Porsche single make racing from around the world, and from Porsche GT racing.
Absolutely. I mean, we walked down the pit lane, and obviously we walked down a lot of Creventic pit lanes, and I have to be honest, it's one of those times when you've seen so many people you don't actually recognise. It's amazing. But the interesting thing is, I was chatting to Peter Fry from Creventic earlier, and I think he told me, and you think about how many Creventic races there have been, John, in the history of Creventic. There's been about 100, I think, by now.
Oh, more than that. We've nearly done 100.
Yeah, with several cars. There are 37 new drivers to the event here who have never raced a Creventic event before at this race, which is a stunning number. So you think about the 29 cars. So every car kind of has at least 1 point something new drivers in it. But then there are some old favourites like Red Camel's Jordan, of course, who have the Ivo Brokers, Luke Brokers, Rick Brokers and Fabian Dance. Again, they've had some problems today. They've had to again look at the changing one of the cars over. But it's interesting, really. I think people like Black Falcon are part of the team. Obviously, we've seen Black Falcon, of course, sporadically within the Creventic series. Obviously, famously, they've won a couple of times historically at the Dubai 24 Hours. This is with their Porsche Cup teams. It's really quite exciting to see so many new names, so many new people being inducted into the Creventic world. And then we are hoping quite soon to be getting the first time. They've all gone past the pits again, so they're now actually on timed laps. And the flashing sign, again, this constant argument between myself, the pit lane, and the scorers. It is officially wet qualifying, John. But yeah, and there we have the windscreen wiper. Most of them, despite being wet qualifying, most of them are still on slicks. So waiting for those first times to come in. We've already got some quite fast sector times because we've got Max Cruz Racing, Marcel Flug on the number 10, and that's interesting. I'm pretty certain he's driving a Carrera Cup car. It's a bit easier than before, isn't it? You just you haven't got to look at the chassis. Does it? Yeah, it's a Carrera Cup car, fantastic. So the fastest first sector is Felix Neuhofer in Neuhofer Rennsport. He's one of the pros. We've got 3 classes here: Pro, Pro-Am, and Am. We have 1, 2, 3. We have 7 pros. We have 9 Pro-Ams, and we have 12 Am teams, and much as it is within Creventic, that's entirely based upon the ratings and the talents of the drivers. There's a maximum drive time of 3 hours at any one time once you get to the race, but there's no wait time, so you can get out the car for a lap, then get back in again.
Yeah, absolutely. Literally, if you were under yellow, you could bring your super duper driver in, put somebody out for yellow, bring him back in again, and send him. Can't service the car under yellow, but you can't serve penalties. This is another rather big change from normal, quote unquote, normal Creventic. Somebody was trying to explain to me today, this is more normal than Creventic, which isn't normal. And I quite like to say that I think Creventic is a far more sensible way of going about things. They've adapted quite nicely some of the best of what they do. We don't have full course purple, so we won't have code 60, but we do have full course yellow, which effectively just becomes code 80. And importantly, when we get into racing, we'll talk you through how the penalties are going to work and when you can take penalties, etc., etc. Joe Bradley has caught up with the Alpha Motorhome Kevin Wraith car that was damaged on the Kemmel Straight when the front bonnet came up. But it's not an engine cover. Is it even a bonnet? I don't know if we can. It's the luggage cover, isn't it, really, Joe? Hello, Joe. There you are.
Yeah, guys, we've just had the number 911, aptly numbered as ever, been brought back. Some heavy frontal damage. It's gone in pretty flat front end, so we've squished certainly the fiberglass body, and it looks like some metal work underneath that fiberglass bonnet has also been bent out of shape. And if my eyes weren't deceiving me, it's had a little bit of damage on the left rear corner as well. As it came off the tail lift, it was kind of dangled in the air, and the left rear looked a bit loose. The left rear wheel, that is, all the camber was off and the toe was off. But the team now just recovering it on stands. Always a tricky job when thing's not sitting right on its suspension. So heavy frontal damage on the 911. It's hard to say until they get the bodywork off. It's just how badly damaged the car is and whether or not it'll take any further part in the weekend. I doubt it's going to take any further part in qualifying, though. That's a definite.
Yeah, nasty bit of damage on that one. Now, luckily, at the front, it's less damaging than you hit at the back. But you have, and it also didn't seem to be training water, which is a normal issue where you've taken out some radiators. Now, I know that the more recent versions of the Carrera Cup cars have moved the radiators out of immediate damage because it was like
no.
It's the GT3s.
It's the GT3s and the RSRs. So they're still right on. Where they are actually is where the air conditioning intercoolers are on the road cars, and they are very, very vulnerable to stone chips. Now, your GT road cars from the factory have a very nice mesh grille there, but every other Porsche Carrera does not. And it is very, very easily hit by debris. You can see the big gaping air intakes on the front. The GT3 Cup cars and the GT3 road cars have a unique air dam and a unique bonnet with those slots in them that you'd only get in those cars. That's because the airflow has been routed around the front of the car for that cooling. So you do have to be a bit careful. The second and third qualifying sessions have been shortened to 12 minutes each. 12 minutes each. After that delay, we've got 3 minutes left. Shall we run you through some times?
Yes.
Everybody's at the top class leaders. Milner Motorsport. Hello to Marcel Duke, who is running, I think, 3 cars this weekend for Milner. The 4, the 18 and the 21 from memory, yep. And they're at the moment 1st, 5th and 6th. The Pro top car is the number 4, Martin Rump, with a 2:25.5. Of course, we'll average all this out as we go through. Getting any split times for some of the cars at the moment, so I'm not sure all the transponders are working quite correctly. MRS GT are the best of the Pro-Ams, with Nick Romano behind the wheel of the number 90, and Ansel Motors by Porsche Lorient Racing. Porsche Lorient, there's another big name. Frédéric Ansel, and they're respectively 2:25.5, 2:28.6, 2:29.6. So that's pretty impressive spacing between those cars. In 4th place, it's Max Kreuzer Racing, who's the second of the pros, the number 8 car, and Ben Luchter behind the wheel of that. Glenn McGee for Milner Motorsport, one of their regular drivers, is second in the AM. He's followed up by Jared Thomas. Now, Jared, if that's the Jared Thomas I think it is, he is normally in the States. Oh, no, it's not, because it's Anthony McIntosh behind the wheel of... Oh, hang on, we've got driver changes going on at the moment, which should not be happening in this session. So this is just the... timing catching up.
Yeah.
That's not confusing. To the top, though, with a new fastest time of a 2:24.9 is Ben Luchter for Max Kreuzer Racing, the number 8 car. That's the best of the pros. From Martin Rump now in the number 4 in second. No, it's Nick Romano now in second. It's going to be last car across the line takes the best time, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've got a drying track, and my feeling is very much that there's a lot of time in this. You've currently got a situation where we've got Benjamin Lutley, say, taking the top speed at 2:24.9, but he's 6/10 faster than the next pro, and then you have Nick Romano in second. So it's going to get quicker and quicker and quicker, and they've only got a couple of extra laps. But yeah, I mean, we're going to get one more, and it's going to be very, very tight, because I think the track is actually drying out because it's being used. So the tyres, the dampness that went down is slightly coming off as one of the cars goes very, very wide.
One of the cars,
one of the Porsches. My eyesight isn't good enough to read that number at this distance.
Was it the blue and white one?
It was the blue and white one.
That's the number 8. That's Max Kreuzer Racing. That's the car at the top of the standings. I wasn't even looking at the screen there.
Oh gosh.
Horses for courses, Nick.
Yes.
Don't worry, I'm gonna make him. We've only got 28 cars.
I am going
to make him Bruce Jones-like learn the entry list before the end of the week.
And the colours as well.
And all the colours.
All the colours.
All the colours. If you want to follow along with us, go to livetiming.getraceresults.com. There's a tracker and all kinds of things there. Ben Luchnek, our fastest driver at the moment, coming to the slight left before Blanchimont. Turn 16 and then 17. Blanchimont is 17. He's not flat in one of these cars, and it's slightly uphill. Let's go down to the pit lane. Nick and John in the booth. It's Joe Bradley and Di Binks down in the lane.
You were talking earlier about the 911, the Alpha Motorsport car that came in, and it came off the truck, and Joe was talking you through that. So I've just checked with the team manager, and the driver has gone to the medical centre just to be checked. He obviously had quite an impact there, but he's okay. But they've just taken him to the medical centre for a procedure. But you can see the team are working quite hard behind it. I was hoping to grab one of the other drivers, but they've, I'm afraid, disappeared at the back there, but they're still going to work away and do what they can, and they'll update us as to the status of the driver a little bit later.
Looks like that might be fairly cosmetic on the number.
It's a lot of parts.
Well, there's a lot of Porsche people here.
They are not short of spare parts, in fairness. Most of them from the car park, probably.
Well, I was going to say, there's more 911 GT3 in various forms, road cars, race cars, GT2 versions of the cars, as well as the GT3 Cup. I can't imagine that they'll be wanting for an air dam.
No, I kind of feel that if you had wanted a GT3 and you were on the waiting list and didn't get one, you'd be quite upset when you saw how many of them were trundling around the pit lane here.
Yes, well, of course, I don't mind so much because I wanted a touring without the wings on. I see enough wings. Kevin Wraith, by the way, was the driver that Diana was talking about, and we wish best of him. We have had all 28 of the cars we were expecting. Remember, the Baz Kooten car isn't going to show this evening, unfortunately. Now, we've had a lap time disallowed. Ibrahim Abdul Ghani in the QMMF by HRT. That has lost at least one lap. This was at the exit of Blanchimont, turn 17. I was in the and we've had a couple more actually, for the number 992, the PTE Mantai car, and the 935, the JW Race Service car. Yao Lingbo in the JW car, and Joel Montenegro, excuse me, put an extra syllable in there, Joel. They were at turn 3, I think. Turn 3 is the top of Radion. That's being looked at, as well as the exit of Radion at turn 4 for track limits. Turn 5, if you go straight on, you must take on that slick comb. You must take the escape road and not go across the tarmac runoff or the grass. The other places that they are looking at is turn 17, which is Blanchimont on the outside, and turn 19, the final left-hander back onto the main straight. Now, in this qualifying session, if you go wide at 19, you will lose that lap, and you will lose the following lap as well.
Yeah, it's because it will give you a much better run down the start-finish straight, so you can gain time the following lap. But yeah, there are a few little new elements to the track limit, and of course the limit of the track is the curb, anything on the curb. So effectively it's a little bit more lenient than normally happens. Chatting to a good friend of the show, Adam Christodoulou, earlier. He was doing some training with the guys he's in the car with, and he said he's had to relearn the track in some ways because the track limits are so lenient. He's having to take more liberties than he's used to make the most of the fact that several of these corners are now opened up a lot wider than he expected. And he says it's almost like learning the track again, because you are effectively giving yourself almost 2 meters more of track than you were normally used to. For example, if you were doing the 24 hours that was here earlier, which had much stricter definition of track limits. It still didn't want you going over the track limits when they defined them, but the definition was much more relaxed here, which I think is a good idea. I think it gives a bit of a margin to some of the amateur drivers. If they're aiming to go over by a meter, that gives them another meter before they get pinged. And once we get into the race, it is quite severe, the penalties, because it's straight into a drive-through, and unlike those of you who are used to Creventic rules, you cannot serve a penalty and then go on to do a pit stop. You have to serve the penalty and then run through the pit. Also, I think a good point to note is that we are using the F1 pit exit, so actually it is quite a short pit lane. It's not if you've been used to perhaps looking at the 24-hour race, or you've raced this on several of the simulators. You don't have to then trundle down the endurance pits as well, making a drive-through an incredible penalty. It is just the Grand Prix pit. So as Joe keeps saying, it's a really short pit lane here. And so it isn't quite the penalty is, but you do have to come to pits each time, John, and you can't serve a penalty and then do any pit work.
When he says it's a small pit lane, I think what he means is with only 29 cars, we haven't got a long spread of cars. Penalty box is at pit in. It's at pit 3. Another change this year, or in this race, is that the team do not regulate their own penalties. It will be done by an official with a stopwatch. And I think we've mentioned, Nick's just mentioned there, that you can't do it when the track is neutralised in any way, shape or form. And we'll talk more about the penalties later when we get round to a pretty early start tomorrow, because we're going right through the day, 9 till 9. It is Martin Rump who had the fastest time, at 2 minutes 23.6 in the end. and he is quickest in Pro, backed up by Max Kreuzer Racing and Ben Lechter in second. Third in that class is the number 86, the Neuhofer Rennsport, Felix Neuhofer. The other two class leaders, MRS GT, third in the GC, Nick Romano and Glenn McGee, over from the over from the UK. Sorry, Glenn. From Michelin Motorsport is the best of the AM. Let's hear from our fastest driver. Martin Rump is with Joe Bradley.
We've just got Martin Rump in front of us, talking to a much more important person than I am. His teammate Jerome Blekemolen, who must be happy with his bronze driver putting it at the quickest time. Martin, that was on slick tyres as well, if I'm right.
Yeah, first of all, I'm a silver driver. But I definitely had some fun out there, and that was on slick tyres. I believe everybody was on slicks. Hence the initial yellow flags out there right out of the pits. It's always tricky, but we kept our head down and also build it up step by step. The good thing here was that we had the time, so we could do 3 or 4 laps. The plan was to do 3. I had a lot of traffic. It was a decent lap, the third one, or the one before the last. Asked for the extra lap, luckily got it. And then, just had so much fun putting in a clear lap.
Is the track now wetter than when you guys started?
It was, I believe, in the beginning, the wettest it was. Then the raining level, like the rain intensity, sort of kept the same, but all the cars, they made its job to clear the line. And then it was sort of like, if you were in the right place, it was sort of grippy. Not really like full grip, but sort of grippy. And then if you were out of it, completely messy. So it was one for big balls and a lot of fun.
How far off was the track then? I mean, in comparison to a fully dry track, on a rate of 1 to 7, how poor is the track conditions?
Give it a solid 5 out of 10.
Yeah, right.
So it could be a lot better, but definitely slicks and. If it was full dry, I would assume to go a few seconds faster for sure.
And Martin, I'll ask you, if you were to go out again, would you stay on the slicks or would you go to a wet?
Oh, yeah, all day. Slicks all day. For like this, it's going to be slicks. Yeah.
Well done. Thank you. Job good so far. And of course, Martin is the silver driver. The number 4 Michelin Motorsport entry is, of course, in the pro class. So a fully pro driver lineup in the number 4.
I don't think we can quite give them pole position yet with 12 minutes to go because Tom Coronel is going to be qualifying next for Max Kreuzer Racing, and they are only 0.7 of a second away. However, Nick, there are really much, because of the changeable conditions, there are much bigger gaps than we would expect to see in what is effectively a spec class in terms of the cars. Now, I think people are going out on slicks here.
They are. This is the point. I think that's what's given into it, really. Usually the third, so you actually wrote pro. Pole is really close between the 4 and the 8. There's only 7/10, which with 2 drivers
Between
to go.
Sorry?
Between the 4 and the 8. Between the
Thank you.
the 4 and the 8. Between
Max
the Michelin Motorsport and Max Kreuzer Racing. But the third place team, which is the 86 car of Neuhofer Rennsport, they're third out of 7. They're 8 seconds behind in the first of the 3 sessions, so therefore to get past the top 2 they have to be 4 seconds faster, each of their following drivers, for the aggregate to work. So there's a big spread there. The fastest of the Pro-Am cars, which is the 90 cars, I shuffle my papers very rapidly to get to that particular piece of information, and the 90 car, that is effectively,
That's MRS GT
Racing with Emerson Sedgwick. That effectively is, there's on a 2:25.2. They are 6 seconds faster than the second fastest Pro-Am, which is the 99 Belgium racing car. In this second set, you've got Dylan Deerdale in it. So you've got these huge gaps. Now, interestingly, in the full Am, that's our closest battle. The difference between first and second, which is the 21 and the 56, which is Ryan Yardley in the Michelin Motorsport Am car, and then Frank Desautoux in the Ansel Motors, between the two of them, there was less than a tenth of a second. So, that Am thing is going to be very close. The Pro-Am is not going to be very close, and the Pro will be, but we think we know who's going to third already. But I think I'm pretty sure when they get on the grid, they're going to be gridded in the order they qualify. So if you qualify ahead of a Pro, you will get, if you qualify third, you'll be third regardless of which particular class you're in. So we could see that mix and matching.
watch the third place car of Alex Sedgwick. Runs for PT Autosports in the Porsche Carrera Cup North America. Hails from just outside of Leamington Spa, right in the centre of England. Just around the corner from Bob Dawson, actually, on that lovely road that goes across from Northampton over to Royal Leamington Spa. So that car will speed up. The problem that people have got now is because of that gap that we had at the top, that even if they're putting in good times now, some of these people are going to have to make up 6 and 7 seconds a lap. Now, if somebody has an absolute stinker, fine, it might happen, but I'm not sure.
No, look at the times that are coming in now. Suddenly it's got much, much closer. I think the disjointed effect of that early red flag, the fact they only got a couple of running laps out and it was greasy and drying. Now we're seeing people in a much, much more condensed time period. Like, you looked at the top 4 or 5 in session 1 and it was 2:25 to 2:31. Now we've got about 12, 13 cars that come over the line, and all bar one is comfortably under 2:30 for a lap. So the grips come back in, or it's become more consistent, John, so people are going to be able to do this sort of time. So my guess is that leap into the front made by people like the number 4 machine is going to really set them in good stead with Michelin Motorsport, because they're going to carry that lead and it's not going to be effectively catcher-upable, or we may well see faster drivers from different cars claim the sector lead. So if we have this second section of qualifying 2, it could be a completely different car, a completely different team who are the fastest, but to actually catch up to the number 4, it's going to be so difficult.
Down to only 5 minutes to go with a shortened session. Then you probably only get 2 laps. In this, an outlap and 2 laps.
Just to reiterate, everybody here is on fresh tyres per sector, which is a difference from those who are used to Creventic 3-part qualifying. But it is a single refuel, so the fuel is coming off each time.
Hans Weij for Tierra Outdoor Racing by HWM has lost a lap at Blanchimont. You just cannot afford to lose a lap when you're only probably going to have a couple of laps out there. Michelin Motorsport number 18, which was sitting healthily, one of the blue and white cars, just coming to, I think, the end of the lap, as that is Parker Thompson. Oh, that's another one of the, well, he's Canadian. Sorry, no, he's not. He is American, so he's come across from the US, won the Porsche Carrera Cup North America, couldn't take his spot in the Porsche Young Drivers because he was 2 weeks too old. And Ryan Yardley, another US Porsche Carrera Cup North America driver, he's over as well in the 21 car for Michelin Motorsport. They're getting up to speed now as we get towards the last 4 minutes.
Yeah, laps in. Your own Bleekemolen, there's a surprise. In the number 4, this is a bit unfair sides now, isn't it, for Michelin Motorsport, the number 4. They've leapt out in that lead with that really fast qualifying 1, and now they put your own Bleekemolen in the car. And he's got the, yes, he's actually got the fastest time, he's got the second fastest time of the section so far with 2:22.8. Fastest lap we've seen so far, and the fastest lap we've seen so far in both the sessions, and that's Tobias Muller in the 48 Black Falcon team. He's on a 2:21.2. But of course, as I said before, even though he's a pro car, he's trying to make up for the big gaps. To give you an idea, even though he's got a second and 0.6 faster than Jeroen Bleekemolen, the 2-lap average, or the 2-driver average for that 48 car is 2:27. The 2-driver average of Jeroen Bleekemolen is a 2:23, and that's where this kind of strength of the qualifying, of having each of the 3 drivers individually counting and being so important, comes into it. And when you get mixed conditions in one of the sectors, you get these sudden really weird situations where one team can just drops it because they didn't get a particularly fast lap at the right time. But it is currently Bleekemolen from Coronel at the top. That's Michelin Motorsport from Max Cruz. So they've carried on being at the top of the hand from the start. Then it's the amateur Michelin Motorsport with Ryan Yardley now, who are top in the AM, and they have an average of 2:26. And in Pro-Am, it's Dylan Deerdale, the Belgian racer. So not too many changes now, and we aren't overly surprised about that. Though interesting that Ansel Motors, Porsche Lorient have dropped back quite a long way, because their second driver, currently Frank de Zoet, he is about 6 seconds in this particular lap slower than Ryan Yardley. And it's the whole thing you've got to look at. It's a kind of advanced maths in some point, working out, okay, I've got to factor in a third of the time comes from qualifying too. But that's the other good times. Good times further down the field. For example, all the way down in 15th place, you've got Wouter Boerkamps from the Team GP Elite, who are regulars within Creventic, but not with this particular driver lineup. Now Wouter has done himself a 2:21.6, which is a really, really good time.
That's a great time,
for an amateur.
Yeah.
But it isn't really doing an awful lot of movement for his team. They're still 4th overall because, of course, they're probably on the wrong side of the rain in that first sector. So this is going to be a situation where, because of the differences, it's going to be really interesting to find out who ends up where on the grid, because it's not until that third sector's coming, because as John quite rightly says, if somebody has a mare, all this is off, all bets are off, because they'll fall tumbling down.
Yeah.
But if they can just put in a banker, they'll probably be okay. So Luke Breukers and Red Camels Jordan, they're currently in the pro class. They are down quite a long way after a not particularly quick first sector, 2:37, so 14 seconds slower in that first session than we saw for Mulner.
Ultimately,
it's a 12-hour race.
It's a 12-hour race. So what really does it mean to the guys where they start?
Well, the thing is, John, you said that, but it's not like you've got, you're racing 6 other cars like you can be sometimes. I know there's different classes, but realistically, we've got 28 cars which are effectively the same. And how easy or difficult is it going to be to... You're kind of thinking that actually overtaking and moving forward is going to be really, really difficult. You're not going to have that situation where a certain type of car, a certain model of car is faster at one part of the track, slower at another. You've got a number of very, very high-quality drivers spread across a number of the teams. So, if, for example, you're a pro team and you end up starting back in 14th or 15th, you're going to lose a huge amount of time prior to the situation where you actually get near the guys who started at the front because they had a bit better running or a bit of better luck during that first couple of sessions. Now, the thing to remember is, though, that what we do have, and this is another change, we do have for this 992 Endurance Cup, which we've not had in Creventic before, we are going to have safety cars. So there is going to be bunching of the field. So you will find yourself behind lots of cars, but you still have a chance of sort of slightly catching up.
Okay, Nick Damon and John Hindhoff in the booth, and it's down in the pit lane, Diana Binks and Joe Bradley, who are braving the Belgian weather out there as we come to the checkered flag in number 2, into the pits for Martin Raginger. Well, he's a bit of a specialist in the bad weather as well as a Porsche. It is still the Milner Motorsport to the top, with Fabio Gross having done a 2:21.9. That's given them an average of 2:22.7. 2:23.2 is the average for Max Kreuzer. Tom Coronel holds on to second place. Those are the 2 top pro cars, which were top pro cars. Nick?
Bit confused about this, because a second ago it said that Jeroen Bleekemolen was in the 4 car, and now it's Fabio Gross. I think there's a little bit of RF, driver switching issues going on with some of the car pickups at the moment, because that's changed driver during the course of this event. So this session now, it may well be Fabio Gross who's done that 2:22 time. It did say Jeroen earlier. Perhaps it's a situation where they're correcting as they go and they're just picking up the driver IDs differently. It may be the driver IDs are almost being set as it goes. But so that's interesting. So it is Fabio Gross. Fastest lap remained that 2:21, I believe. Actually, Fabio Gross did the 2:21.9 at the end. But it looks like the 2:21.6 from Chris Mees, who we only saw in Black Falcon named a bit later there. So 2:21.6 appeared to be the fastest, because in 2:21.2, that Tobias Muller time did remain the fastest time of qualification 2. But then we go to move to qualification 3. So if you're watching along on the timing, I think there's a little bit of a learning situation going on with the driver IDs as well. So we are telling you who we think's in the car based on the information we've got. It might slightly change, plus or minus every now and again. So track continues to dry. It's going to continue to cool as well, of course, because
let's nip down to the pit lane and to Joe. Now, we should say that it's Joe and Di in the pits. See if we can get a word with one of the other class leaders, MRS GT, or the number 21 Milner Motorsport. Ryan Yardley in the arm car has moved up to, or has held that car in fourth. So the top four remain in exactly the same order. Number 4 Mühlner, from number 8 Max Kruse, from number 90 MRS GT, and the 21 Mühlner is the best of the AMs, with the MRS GT number 90 best. The Pro-Ams, who have we got down there? Is it Joe or Di?
It is myself. It is
Thank
Di.
you, love.
Yeah, we're just at the other end of the pit lane, actually, at the moment, John, as we are waiting. We were just going to have a quick chat with Tom Coronel, who is on his way in. He's not actually come in yet. They're just waiting to make that driver change. So it's a bit busy in this pit lane for this one. So we're just making sure that we weave our way up as much as we can. But I think I'll come back to you in a few seconds when I actually get one of the drivers or get Tom out of the car.
Always a very busy period in a Creventic race, and now of course a Porsche race, when you're going through these changes in between these 2 sections or 3 sections of qualifying. Only a few minutes. I think it's kind of even more speedy because you have to get a tyre change, and you don't normally have to do, and more importantly, we only have a 12-minute session in a very long track, John, so it is a little more urgency to get those cars around and at the front of the queue to get out and maximise those 12 minutes, which will be starting in about 3 minutes.
So still to come into the pit lane, Lucas Sales in the MRS GT number 89. Now, I'm pleased we can talk about this number 89 because I think that is the supplied colour. It's called GT Silver, and all of the GT3 Cup cars come in that colour. In the day, it would have been Carrera White, Racing White, that all Porsche race cars came in, which of course led to Paul Truswell, who is here.
He is, and looking very well.
He looked
to all
very
his
well
fans.
indeed, and he was absolutely in his pomp when I spoke to him after the team managers meeting today. Paul Truswell, of course, talked about boring white Porsches and fields of boring white Porsches. He didn't mean it in a nasty way. Actually, that might be... No, I think that is GT Silver. It's just dirty GT Silver. The boring white Porsches were Porsches that you didn't talk about, but just ended up being at the front of the race by the time you got to the end of whatever championship you were looking at, and that's basically what he was talking about in those days, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, it was a situation where it was almost like stealth, where you wouldn't even notice the car. Oh, it's won.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Then we definitely had a couple of those in the Dubai 24 hours.
Yes, we did.
What was the white and red one? One from nowhere, about 2016 Swiss team, Hop Swiss. Do you remember who it was?
No.
They were like on no one's bingo card for a victory. They won. I'll look it up for tomorrow, so I've got the information because my brain isn't quite good. Statler. It was Statler Motorsport.
Yes, well done. You got
Gets there eventually, reaching back into the back of the grey matter. So just to give you an idea of where everyone is on averages, you've got the Muller Motorsport number 4 has an average of 2:22.7 against Max Kruse, an average of 2:23.2. What that means is they are half a second average faster, but that does mean they're overall a second quicker on the pair. So to move into pole, the third Max Kruse racing driver has to be a second faster than Muller Motorsport, because that'll pull the average down. In Pro-Am, it's the 90 MRS GT Racing. They're on 2:24.4. Second is Belgium Racing on 2:26.9. So that's 2.5 seconds. So in fact, to lose that pole, Belgium Racing has to be 5 seconds faster than MRS GT. And in the AM, it's the Miller Motorsport again, but it's a 21 on a 2:25.9 against a 2:28.5. Again, about 6 seconds. So I think two of the poles are pretty much decided, barring disasters, and disasters can happen.
Of course they can. Of course they can. They always can, Nick. That's a very good point. Let's go to Joe Bradley in the pit lane before we get the third and deciding session. 12 minutes, remember, so we are not going to get more than a couple or 3 laps. Joe, who you got?
It's not Joe, it's Diana again. I'm making my way into 14 to speak to them. A few seconds as I wheedle my way down the pit lane, I'm afraid.
Okay, it's definitely Joe that talked to me.
Wheedling away. Yeah, so this is the joy of these.
Just do the numbers of the cars, guys, because we need really the team names as well.
So yes, I mean, it's interesting. We've seen a couple of really outstanding individual performances, but they've been kind of dulled down by the early set. Now, interesting, I've just seen a name ping up on the driver ID. I hope it's the correct ID name, because it is the man.
Well, he's the one left.
Who, when you think about Porsches and you think about a Creventic race, comes to mind first. Who is that?
Jérôme Blenkemoor.
No, it's Robert Renauer.
Oh, Rob Renauer.
Rob Renauer for Creventic.
Or I was going to say it would have been Patrick Fantastic as well.
Patrick Fantastic, yeah.
I don't think he's here.
He's not. It's very disappointing. Very disappointing. But Robert Renauer at the with Neuhofer Racing, number 86. And I'm going to say right now, in qualifying, even though they're not going to be at the front, these 86 car is absolutely my tip for the top. It's a combination of the Renauer brothers. They're in pro. It's a combination of the Renauer brothers. It's got Patrick Neuhofer as well, and Felix Neuhofer and Martin Ragginger. And I just think that's a driver lineup, an experienced lineup of both the Porsche Racing and Creventic rules that make you kind of think they are my tip for the top. And I think it's one of my roles as sitting to your right hand side is to give you a tip for the top, John.
Rick Breukers will be going out in the number 9 Red Camel Jordan.NL car. And
there are a few well-known. Kobe De Bruyker out in the Belgian racing machine. Kobe's obviously often with GP Elite, doing great stuff with them. We've got we have got your own belief, man. You're absolutely right now at the Muller Motorsport. And it's Paul Meyer for Max Cruz, the number 8. He has to try and gain a second on your own Bleekemolen. Not the work of a moment. Madeline Stewart, she takes part in the third place, the leading Pro-Am car at the MRS GT Racing. Anthony McIntosh takes in the Muller Motorsport 21, which is the leader in AM at the moment. And we have, of course, friend of the show, Alan Christodoulou, out in the Toro Racing HRT performance. They're right down the bottom of Pro-Am, but that's, he's got a couple of more inexperienced teammates. But Adam certainly.
That was Di calling us there. Let's go back down to Di in the pit lane.
Yes, thank you very much. I've made my way down to the pit lane and I'm talking to Alex Sedgwick now from the number 90 MRS GT Racing team. And Alex, you're leading that Pro-Am charge at the moment. Just give us an idea of how it was out there on that session for you.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. We had a bit of rain when Nick was out in the car for the first session. But it dried up pretty quick. It seemed like it was a bit more mental rain than anything on the track. So, we're going pretty well so far. We've got a bit of a group from Carrera Cup and Sprint Challenge in America. So, representing well for Porsche Motorsport North America, and hopefully Madeline can bring it home for pole in class.
Yeah, we're looking forward to a very exciting race tomorrow. Obviously, a very exciting racetrack here in Spa. How much do you like competing on this circuit?
It's awesome. It's my first time in a sort of a proper race car here. I raced a Citroen C1 is my only other experience here. So a little bit different in the Cup car, but very fortunate to be at this event, and it's a pretty awesome event that Creventic has put together for the Cup cars.
It seems like this qualifying session tonight is going quite quickly. How much is the track evolving during that very short time you were out?
Yeah, a lot. We started the day with rain, so the track started pretty much completely green. There's been a lot of running all the way through, but it's getting better and better. So I expect this session to be pretty quick, and fortunately with not a huge amount of cars on track, some clear air, we should see some really good lap times.
Satisfied with that so far?
So far, so good. We just need to do it in the race. That's the important bit.
Thanks, Alex.
Yeah, thank you.
Diana Binks here with Alex Sedgwick wearing his PT Autosport overalls from Porsche Carrera Cup North America. Very loud pit lane here.
It reverberates off because you kind of run through a tunnel. You've got one reverberation point is a massive grandstand, which I think everyone knows from F1 on the left-hand side as they go down the main. But the rest of it is actually a built-up bank. And so it just comes back, and the sound will roll back into the pit lane. It's actually the amount of noise a Porsche Cup car makes is incredibly different depending on the track it's at.
Yes, and it does. That flat six does weird things. There's an odd reverberation to the flat six that you get with the road cars as well, particularly when you've got that sports exhaust open, which obviously has to be all the time.
Well, absolutely, yes. That servo valve completely open the whole time.
I don't even know if mine closes, to be honest. No, actually, that's not true, because when I started up in the morning, I leave it closed if I'm starting up from cold. It ticks over rather quickly, and it's actually you only hear the burble of the sports exhaust when it settles down, which is quite interesting.
New fastest overall lap of the event so far with a 2:21 flat, or 007. Matthias Jabot, one of the amateurs, but obviously there are pro drivers in the amateurs. It's a 888 car of Seb Lejeune Racing. Now it obviously sticks them up to the front of Am, but of course what's going to happen is we're still waiting for the first laps to come in. And interesting at the moment that Paul Meyer has done what he needs to do. He has been more than a second faster than Jeroen Bleekemolen, so he averages, goes back to his team, the 8. Max Cruz goes above more than Motorsport Bleekemolen. He did a 2:23, Bleekemolen 2:25.8, so the average went into his favour 7/10. But you kind of think that Jeroen will be able to pull that out of the bag, but you never can tell. Seb Lejeune, despite, of course, so Matthias Jabot of Seb Lejeune, despite putting in that fastest time we've seen so far, still it ends up an average of 2 seconds behind the leader in Am. It's very difficult to overcome a weird session like the first one, where we had so many people who were just all over the shop, rather than having what we normally have, which is quite condensed times.
True that. Nick Damon, John Hindhaugh in the Global Broadcast Centre, overlooking the start-finish line, but we're actually quite a long way down towards the braking area for La Source. We can, however, importantly, I think, see the pit-out light. That will become very important later on, as in the race tomorrow. Madeline Stewart out in the MRS GT. That's another GT silver car with the black and red on it. This is the number 90, heading up the hill now. Oh, hit the inside curb, going up through Eau Rouge. And the number 89 is the all-silver car of Marcio Mauro for MRS GT. They are sitting 8th and 9th in the AM class, the 88 and 89 and 22nd and 23rd overall. Early leader, still the leader, Paul Meyer for Max Kreuzer Racing. The gap between first and second is 1.2 seconds
he's
on the
pulled that
average.
One right out the bag, because he's now done a 2:21.2.
Yeah.
And
I think that's got them on Paul now.
Well, no, because it's Bleekemolen's. I never say this. Bleekemolen's lack of pace at the moment, which is causing a slight problem. He's actually just done himself a 2:23, which means the split is only 3/10. But it's Bleekemolen who needs to put a time in a little bit closer to what we would expect. An absolute firecracker of a lap from Matthias Jabot from Seb Lejeune Racing, again 2:19.7. I don't think I've seen any. We haven't got another 2:20. There's a 2:20.2 from Gabriel Piana in Black Falcon, but 2:19, John, that's really quick in these conditions.
Matthias Jaubert in the Seb Lejeune Racing by.
Do you know anything about him from your experience of Porsches?
I think he runs in French Carrera Cup, but I haven't actually got notes on every driver, because we have only got a full list just before this session started. There's a few teams who have been swapping and changing drivers. He normally races for the Martin Ballin Meras team, and he took his first victory earlier on this season and at Porsche Carrera Cup France. He won at Paul Ricard. Alessandro Giretti, who is the current Porsche junior, he won that at, I think it was at Portugal this year. He drives a Schumacher CLRT, and they have been the team to beat in French Carrera Cup this year. Well done to Matthias Jaubert for getting amongst those teams. We haven't got a Schumacher car here, which I'm slightly surprised at, as they've been doing such good work. Of course, what I don't know is where people have got to be next week.
Oh, yes.
A number of these teams, including Red Camel, will be at Barcelona. However, Red Camel aren't running this Porsche next week.
No, they got a couple of them. They've had a.
No.
Oh, what are they doing? Tell me.
They're going to GT3.
Really?
First time the family
Wow.
team will have won in GT3. We'll leave that until midweek motorsport on Wednesday, but we'll try and get a word with Ivo and the team.
Okay,
They're
yeah.
going to go for overall victory and the Trofeo Fermin Velez in a week's time.
It's news to me. That's interesting. I'm interested.
I may have given away a confidence there.
That's interesting. That's very interesting news. That one. I think you may well have done indeed. Anyway, you didn't hear that, and if you did hear it, you didn't hear it from us. Is the answer on that one.
At RSL_studio, by the way, if you want to get in touch with us.
Paul Meyer continues to slightly extend his lead over Jeroen Bleekemolen. Max Cruz racing above Muller Motorsport at the top. But unfortunately, because Jeroen's a little bit off the pace, 2:22.4 is not particularly quick compared to any of the other pro runners that I can see at the moment. Rob Renau has managed to get the Neuhoff and Rennsport team into third overall with an average time of 2:24.9, a 2:25 flat average now for Loke Hartog. So we now have four pros at the top of the table. It can still change around a bit actually, because there's a couple of slightly off pace. Certainly Sasha Norden, the Belgian racing guy, is a little bit off pace of the rest of the pro-ams. You know how I said it would take them at least a 5-second change to do that? Well, they managed to get 2 or 3 seconds of the change, but it is still Norden's Belgian racing, the 99 car that's leading in pro-am. Anthony McIntosh, Muller Motorsport, happy away there with a 2:25.4 average across the 3 drivers from Neuhoff and Rennsport, and Dylan Yip, who's got that to 2:27 flat. So not as much change. We have seen this gradual move forward of the pure pros to the top. So at the moment it's 4 pros, then 2 pro-ams, an am, and then 4 more pro-ams. So it's got a lot more kind of better for those of you with OCD, the arrangement of the teams. Not perfect, but they are at least in chunks now, apart from the ams, who slightly split themselves up a bit.
Yeah, and it's Max Kreuzer that's the number 8 car, from Müllner number 4, from Neuhofer number 86, from Black Falcon number 48, as Robert Renard pits at the end of this session. As it stands, the best of the Pro-Ams is the Belgian Racing, how appropriate, of Sasha Norden, with a combined time of 2:25.2, ahead of Black Falcon, who have taken the checkered flag now with Gabriele Piana. And he's got down, oh my goodness, how close is that? 2:20, on the average, 2:25.269 and 2:25.274, and as I say that, Sasha Norden comes to the line and actually goes ahead of Luke Hartog, who is another Porsche Carrera Cup North America, Kelly Moss Racing. Hello to the team who I'm sure are tuned in. Now I realise why Andy and Victoria are in Europe. They're going to be here, aren't they? I've just realised. I saw some of their socials. Andy Kilcoyne and Victoria Thomas, the team principals at Kelly Moss Racing. So 5th place for Black Falcon in the Pro-Am car. Oh, more changes as MRS GT. Madeline Stewart puts in a 25.5 on the last lap of the number 90 MRS GT and goes to the inside of row 2 and pole in Pro-Am. So at the moment, Pro pole and overall pole, Max Kreuzer number 8. Pro-Am in 3rd in the general classification, Madeline Stewart for MRS GT Racing in their number 86 car, ahead of Belgium Racing Sasha Norden in 2nd. 3rd in Pro-Am is Black Falcon Gabriele Piana. Sorry, I'm getting too excited. Müllner Motorsport, Tony McIntosh for Müllner leads the AM class now in 9th in the GC, ahead of the Neuhofer Motorsport number 85. Dylan Yip has just done the time in that car. And 3rd in the AM is Seb Lejeune Racing, Mathis Jobert by Duo Racing in the 888 car. So there's your top 3 in each. Where was it? Did I mention the top 3 in Pro? Yes, I did. Oh, Neuhofer, Robert Renard in 3rd. So Max Kreuzer, Müllner and Neuhofer are your top 3 in Pro and overall before we head into the other classes.
I think Madeline Stewart must have had her last lap removed.
Oh yeah, good point.
She's dropped back down to 4th in class. And
no, you're spot on. Turn 17. So coming through Blanchimont, Madeline Stewart has had her last lap removed, and that drops her back down to 9th in the general and 4th in Pro-Am from what had been provisional pole.
Oh, that must be quite tough.
That's going to sting.
Well, Paul Meyer, who did make up that second, he had to make up on Jeroen Bleekemolen to take the pole. In fact, he made up 1.6 seconds, so that was a great result. Rob Renault really wrestled that car into third. Just to give you an idea, they were 8 seconds behind in qualifying one. Again, this is nothing against the driver in the first qualifying. It was very difficult in drying conditions, and also with the red flag and the traffic. So I think people can get a kind of a pass if the things went slightly wrong. So Sasha Norden stays in top in Pro-Am. He managed to hold that one through. Towards the bottom of the pack, it is the Pure Am teams you'd expect, who are occupying the back 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. But prior to that, there's quite a good spattering between the pros and the Pro-Ams, which you kind of expect on average qualifying.
Yeah. From the back, then on 26th and 27th position, 13th row will be the two MRS GTs. These are unofficial and subject to post-qualifying tech, 88 and 89. One row further forward on the 12th row, Ansel Motors, number 56 on the inside, 2:33 team lap time performance. Tom Murrell on the outside, another US refugee coming over. Heavens above. On row 11, Jukka Hunkavore and Peter Munich in respectively Team GP Elites number 12 and the number 36 K Kramer Racing. On the 10th row, Speed Lover on the inside for Kurt Henson. And Jukka Hunkavore on the outside. It was Peter Munich and Carsten Kramer on the 11th row. On the 9th row is Julian Hanses and Luke Ation. They did the last section, so that'll be 31Q MF by HRT and JW Race Service in the 935. On the 16th row, 17th position, Adam Christodoulou and Toro Racing. Seb Lejeune Racing by Duo in 16th. The 888, Max Kreuzer Racing in 15th in the 10th, H28 in 14th in the 15th, Red Camel in 13th in the 9th, Neuhofer in 12th in the 85, Belgium in the 98, in Belgium Racing 98 in 11th, and I'll do your top 10 after we've heard once again from Max Kreuzer Racing.
Position for the inaugural 992 Endurance Cup.
I'll
start with you, Paul. You finished the qualifying session, kept that aggregate going. You're sweating. How hard?
Yeah, it was hard. We were on fire the whole practice. I think we took the right decision in Q1 to take the risk and go on slicks, and that worked out throughout Q2 and Q3, of course. And I just wanted to draw within the lines on my last 2 laps. No, don't take any risk on track limits. And just bring it home in a good time and take that pole position, which is amazing.
Benjamin, you started the car, didn't you? Did you start the car? So you did the first stint. That's a bit of pressure to take the car last. The pressure is off for you, surely.
No, I mean, the first session was really, really tricky because there was always in between slicks or wet. I took the decision to take the slick. It was high risk. But at the end it worked out, and I'm really happy for my boys.
Very good job. And of course, you're teamed with the legend that is Tom Coronel. Tom, you weren't a happy little bunny when you came in after your qualifying session, but let's put that aside because you guys will start on that front slot.
It's very easy. We call that karma. It's the car who's now on P2. Gross blocked me big time in the chicane, and finally they didn't make it. I mean, that's the way it is. I had some good laps. Yeah, it was really good, but it was getting dark and some drizzling on the windscreen. So I was like, oh, is it going to be okay? But then I saw on the lap times, it should be completely dry. So then I just start to push with the car, and everything was fine. Yeah, I felt good. It was all okay, but we had to save also fuel because I know he's the fastest of all of us. So we put him in the end because otherwise we were using too much fuel. So yeah, that's why we pitted earlier, and he also pitted 1 lap earlier.
What's it going to be down to winning this race, guys? What do you think is going to be the key part of winning this race? Paul, you're the quickest. That's what Tom Coronel said. So what's it going to take to win?
Over 1 lap, yes. Let's see in the endurance race tomorrow. No, but it should be okay. I think the strategy will be just to make a gap in the beginning and try to stay in front. Yeah.
And there's 4 drivers in this. Jan van Roon. You left the tricky bit to the pros, yeah, but you must be looking forward to getting in the seat and actually taking part in this race.
No, a bit scared.
A lot of pressure on an AM driver now, yeah.
A lot of pressure. So I hope I can keep up and do well, and we'll see.
We have is in the tires, guys. First I really have to say thanks to the whole team because they built up a new car for that race. We had a new chassis coming for that race. No rollout. We did on Thursday the very first lap with that car. So amazing job by these guys. So I really congratulate and hey, big thank you for those guys. Thanks.
Team effort as ever, guys.
Fortunately, we can't do that because the timing has flipped over to the Benelux Cup, which is going out now. So you'll have to catch up on that on the website.
I'll tell you in the morning.
Yeah.
I'll run around and point it all out to everybody.
Thank you very much to all of our technical staff here at the circuit back in Cologne and up in London. It was Curry who was getting us to the world from London, and thanks to Marvin and the team on audio and engineering at Cologne, and everybody here trackside as well. Joe Bradley and Dinah Binks were in the pit lane. Nick Damon joined me. John Hindhoff in the booth. The responsible adult, well, was everywhere as normal. At RSL_studio, make sure you come back for the start of the race, and of course the very exciting Nick's pit lane. He's back.
Overexcited.
Yeah, when was the last time you did a pit walk?
Too long. It's been too long.
Yeah, you've got a bit to live up to after I've done a couple now. You're going to do it in Belgian tomorrow. You're going to start with a bit of Flemish, I think.
I might sort of phlegm, but about Flemish. No, it should be very exciting because I have no issue in identifying which each of the cars are.
They're all Porsches. Yeah, very good.
That's the one.
Out on the track at the moment is the Benelux Porsche Sprint Cup Challenge. So there's a mixture of GT3 and GT4s out there at the moment. There will be a night-time practice here after this for the main race. If you want all of the details, go to livetiming.getraceresults.com. And you will be able to pick off everything that has happened so far. But for this Fast Friday, and remember we are racing tomorrow, the race is underway at 9 Central European, at 9:45 Central European summertime. That's 8:45 in the UK. Remember, we're an hour back in the UK. If you're in the US, you might want to get up early and see the opening laps. The weather forecast for tomorrow is absolutely cracking the flags, as we would say in the northeast of England. 27 Celsius, so well into just into the 80s Fahrenheit actually at that point, and very little chance of rain. But very little chance of rain at Spa-Francorchamps means there's always a chance of rain. Join us then in the morning at 9 o'clock Central European summertime from the whole team here at Spa-Francorchamps for the inaugural running of the Michelin 992 Endurance Cup powered by Porsche Motorsport. We have got the pole sitters and the grid set. We'll see you tomorrow for 12 hours of action. Bye for now.